Hey there, everyone. Just a quick announcement before we begin today's episode. Fathom Events and G-Kids are celebrating the 15th anniversary of Hayao Miyazaki's Howl's Moving Castle. G-Kids and Fathom Events are bringing the enchanted fantasy adventure to theaters April 7th, 8th, and 10th as part of Studio Ghibli Fest for a special 3-day event. On a quest to break the spell, Sophie climbs aboard Howl's magnificent moving castle and into a new life of wonder and adventure. Head over to ghiblifest.com to get your tickets now. That will be left in the show notes for today's episode. And without further ado, enjoy the show. Cowabunga there, animation fans. Welcome to the AFA podcast, the official podcast for animationforadults.com. My name is Rachel, and joining me today is our wonderful artist in residence, Allie.
Hi, everybody.
And our social media ninjutsu wizard, Denhery.
Hey.
Hey. And if you haven't told by my particular choice in vernacular today, we are covering the latest incarnation of the long-running franchise, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and that is specifically Nickelodeon's recent show, Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It has, I'm trying to remember exactly, it came out a little bit in 2018, July, I think it was summer 2018, if I'm remembering correctly, and just basically taking up the mantle from the previous show, the computer-generated cartoon that they had on Nickelodeon for a good while. And they were definitely, when they were putting out the promotional material, I remember they were definitely saying that we're going to be changing quite a few things. It's going to be a 2D animation style. The writing is going to be much more along the lines toward comedy. And, you know, a lot of the characters got some really interesting redesigns. Raphael was going to be the new leader of the group as the Turtles, which is different from the many, many incarnations that have come before. And just a lot of different takes from the creators for this show in terms of like how they wanted to take it new focus, more on the more mystic ninja stuff that they wanted to focus on. So we're going to just kind of start with our introductions to this particular show, and also the Teenage Mutant Turtles in general, because it's been around for quite a long time. And for those of you who tuned into our last episode, we actually had a little article detailing how the Turtles actually came to be, and we'll talk a little about that here too. But Allie, how would we go over to you first in terms of your introduction to either the Turtles or the show in general?
All right. Well, I'm going to be the first to admit that I did not grow up watching a lot of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles when I was a kid. Mm-hmm. It would be on once in a while, and most of my guy friends in middle school really liked the show. They loved it. Every Halloween, somebody in my class had to dress up as one of the Turtles, one of the boys. So I didn't really get into the Turtles, I would say, until college, actually. Back in 2013, 2014, I started watching more of them, wanted to know more about them. I had known all their names, of course. I mean, I knew the names, I think since I was 10, I knew who they were. I just never got into the show. Mm-hmm. But I think I really started getting more into this series, in all honesty, when this cartoon, Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, popped up, because I loved the artwork, I liked the story, I loved how it was written, and I love the voice acting in this. Mm-hmm. And I never really watched any of the other shows. I had seen reviews for them here and there. I'd seen artwork everywhere, cosplaying everywhere at Comic-Con. So, yeah, I pretty much got a stronger foundation for the Turtles in college. I'd say 2013, maybe earlier. Yeah, so I wasn't really knowledgeable about them until about that point. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, I was hooked after that. But with this particular show, I am definitely sold on the franchise. I'm just shocked it's been around for so long. It's amazing.
Yeah. So go ahead.
I have not known the Turtles for that long, but I started watching it, I would say, back in 2012, 2013.
Okay, so were you familiar with the show Nickelodeon had out before this one?
Yeah, it was the CGI version, right?
Mm-hmm, yep.
Yeah, because my mom was the one who found the article about the creation of the Turtles. She found that intro to the cartoon, so that's how I knew about that one. And I had seen, now I take that back, I had seen the trailer for TMNT, the theatrical film.
Oh, yes, I recall. I remember that.
I have not watched the whole movie, but I remember seeing that trailer in theaters, and that got me a little interested. And then, of course, I got distracted again. Next thing you know, in college, there I am with the Turtles again. So yeah, back and forth.
I will warn you, that TMNT movie, while interesting, it's a very, very different type of, let's just say, characterization than what you see in particularly this show, because I would say that's more, from my understanding, that seemed to be more of something that was inspired by like the 2004 cartoon that they had. The character dynamics reflect that a whole lot more.
It seems to me to be the complete opposite of Rise, because, well, in Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, you have all of these upbeat characters who can be serious, but in this one, you have some really depressing characters who can be upbeat sometimes. That when I saw TMNT, when I saw parts of that, it just didn't ring the same as the new series to me.
Yeah, no, it's very different. So obviously, depending on what you're looking for, you'll, like, in these characters, you'll find different things, and that's one of the things I like about the Turtles and the fact that they've been around so long. But before we delve into that, Dennery, how about we go to you, since I believe you said off the air that this is actually your first exposure to the Turtles, period.
Yeah, like, I've always known about the franchise. I just never put any effort to be into it, and I might have seen just a little bit of the last one, the CG series.
Yeah.
But I never seen the whole thing, and this is my very first time actually seeing it from the very beginning and actually getting to know them more. And yeah, I think I'm with Allie. Like, I really like the art style. I like the designs. That's what really got me into it, and like the more information I knew about it, the more interested I just became, because the cast, it's a really good cast. I love the voice acting. And yeah, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much my very first time being with the franchise. I've been way too obsessed with it ever since.
Well, I'm glad. I mean, like you said, you just said off air, I think out of all of us, we were all trying to watch episodes in order to be prepared for today's recording, and you had the time to watch all of them, and I'm just like, man, props to you, because I mean, I plan on watching more. I do. I really am. It's just that I unfortunately haven't had opportunity, and I kind of beat myself up. It's like, oh, after watching the first couple, I'm like, man, I should have watched more.
Dennery beat us to the punch, Rachel.
Yes, she did. She wins the AFA Gold Star for this podcast recording.
I did buy the series on Google.
Oh, I bought the whole season on Amazon.
Yes, it is available for purchase on there too, both of those areas. So, all right, I'm gonna admit something real to everyone here in the room. When we were starting to get promotional stuff for this show, when it was first coming out, I was intrigued, but skeptical. And then when the first little tiny snippet, like the first joke where we are introduced to these new versions of the Turtles and they're doing the cannonball into the pool with April, as funny as that was, I didn't know how I felt about it. I think because the fact that it was so drastically different from what I had grown up with, because I am someone who basically grew up watching the 1980s cartoon as a kid, because of that, got into the Mirage comics, and basically I would kind of take a break from TMNT and then come back and see what new stuff it was doing, if it was good, if it wasn't good. And I will admit I am more partial to those to the parts where they would explore the different story ideas that were kind of initially touched on in the Mirage comics, though the stuff that could get a little dark. But at the same time, like, I do enjoy the Turtles when they can be just silly and funny, because that's what makes them special, is that they can touch on both sides of that divide of being, doing some relatively serious storytelling, but also, in terms of character development, but also being really goofy. And I guess in my initial association with this show, I guess I thought it was maybe leaning a little bit too much on the goofy side, which is why when I saw that first clip, I'm like, I'm not really digging this right now. But I will admit, I gave it a second chance when we were deciding this episode. I'm like, okay, I'll give it another shot. Maybe I just didn't see enough of it to really get into it. And especially after hearing, later on, it's like, oh, the animation in this show is amazing. So I definitely tuned back in. And Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. This is, if you're okay with that kind of level of silliness, and you were able to get like basically let go of any old preconcepts of what you think these characters are and what they could be, you're definitely gonna have a much better time than you would have otherwise. I will admit that right here. And yeah, I have only seen a handful of episodes, a couple of the longer ones particularly, and a couple of the smaller ones. But even so, I am surprised to find that it does seem to be a small peppering of some kind of ongoing plot thread. Like, because I think the longer the episodes have gone on, they've been having reoccurring villains, and obviously they have a overarching nemesis right now who is trying to get rid of the turtles, but also has ties to their history, and which is always fascinating. I always like that particular part where we explore exactly how they've decided to change the origin story around, because it always starts with turtles being mutated by a specific ooze, but where that comes from and how that affects their history is always different. So it'll be, I'm curious. I think it might just be time again for me to tune back in to my 4 amazing turtle boys and their adopted human sister, and see what kind of shenanigans they can get up to. But yeah, also shout out to whoever wrote Mystic Mayhem, who thought making a Leroy Jenkins reference was a great idea, because it was, and it was beautiful.
Yeah, there's a lot of great subtle references that for kids might go over their heads, it might not, but all I know is there were some really funny jokes in this that really got a good laugh out of me.
Mm-hmm. I think I recall when we were talking about this before, Allie, I think you said this show is kind of like if Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, like any particular incarnation, and Animaniacs had a baby.
Oh yeah.
Like, yeah, I kind of see that, especially with how Mr. Rob Paulson is in charge of the voice direction, and I think that is having a huge influence on the comedic timing that these characters have. Well,
it's also, and here's another interesting tidbit, Rachel. Rob Paulson also voices the Foot Lieutenant in the series.
Yes, I thought I recognized him. I'm like, his voice was very raspy. I'm like, wait a minute, Rob, is that you?
Along with Maurice, I don't remember, Pinky and the Brain.
Maurice LaMarche, yes.
Well, I forget, what character does he play?
He's the... Oh, go ahead, Dennery.
What was the character? It was the foot soldier, right? Or something like that?
Was he the Brute? Was it the Brute?
Yeah, he's Brute.
Oh my God,
with
they
Rob.
are together. Oh,
yeah, united once more.
All we need is a Pinky and the Brain joke.
What are we going to do today, Brute? Trying to take over New York City and kill the turtles.
You know, it's funny that you mentioned the Pink and the Brain joke. It wasn't necessarily them. I don't know if you don't mind me spoiling this.
Just go right ahead.
In the newer episode when Mikey goes and tries to retrieve the video game. I guess he was just basically on his way out, and then the turtles kind of ruined his moment and slammed the door on him by accident, and then you hear him say "Narf."
Oh my gosh, I didn't catch that.
Oh, I got to go back and watch that. That's great.
How did I not catch that?
Oh my God, yes.
That's fantastic.
Oh wow. Yeah, okay, this show's kind of beautiful. Isn't it amazing? I've come around from being completely like, nah, I don't think this is going to be for me, to like, holy shit.
Yeah, it's definitely for us now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I apologize to everyone involved with the show. It's like, I'm sorry. I was too afraid to let go of what I thought that I wanted these characters to be, but thank you for being patient with me.
I mean, we've all been there. We're always very skeptical of a reboot, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially so soon after the previous one. And even though the CG show wasn't perfect, I really enjoyed what it did. And I really enjoyed Rob Paulson's performance as Donatello. Like, it was excellent.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot. Rob Paulson, he voiced Donatello, and I didn't. Oh, so it was that series that he did that.
Yes, he did. Yeah, that was where he was able to come back, and he did the voice for Donatello instead of Raphael, because I think Sean Astin did Raphael.
Okay, it was Sean Astin, because they were doing some kind of a script reading at one of the Comic-Con events. It was this event called Twisted Tunes, so they read movie scripts, and the audience had to vote on whether it was Rob's original Raphael or the new Donatello. And I went, wait a minute, Rob voiced Donatello? When did that happen?
Yep, and he did a fantastic job. Yeah, I think it was Seth Green voiced Leonardo.
Oh my gosh.
John Astin was Raphael, Greg Sipes was Michelangelo, and Rob Paulson was Donatello. It was a fantastic cast.
That's a great cast, and you've got Sam from the Hobbit, and then you've got Beast Boy from Teen Titans.
Yeah, it was excellently done, and even had some great cameos. Like apparently Gilbert Gottfried came in and played a character for a little while. And so did the Ninth Doctor himself, David Tennant, came and voiced a time-traveling robot. So,
oh my gosh.
You can see why maybe so soon after that show ended, I was a little hesitant to let it go. Because
yeah.
so many good things.
Yeah, I'm starting to see that.
But, and even, there's been so many adaptations of these different characters. So if you're looking for something different, you're going to find it everywhere you look. There's generally certain things that they've kept similar for a long time. Typically, for up until this show, it's always been the terms of the family structure. Leonardo's the eldest, Raphael's the second eldest, Donatello's the middle child, and Michelangelo's the youngest. But in this show, I know they've switched it around with Raphael being the older of the four, and Donatello and Leonardo both being the 14-year-old middle children, and Michelangelo being the youngest still.
Yeah, that's interesting, because whenever I saw the Turtles, in cartoons, I always thought that Raph was the oldest brother, even when I did not know that about him.
Yeah, there was, and in certain shows they have some really interesting ways in terms of showing the tension between the fact that those two were the eldest, because in the Mirage comics, when it came to big important decisions in terms of whether or not they would get into a big fight or not, Raph would always want to jump in because it's this whatever and such ticks me off, and Leonardo's no, we got to think, and then of course the two would come to spats as a result.
That's right.
That's probably what makes this one interesting, because you see that even though Raph is basically the self-appointed leader, he lets Leo take charge. I feel like they take turns, and there's no bad blood. It just, if they want to take charge, they go ahead and do it, and they kind of go along with it.
Yeah.
In this one.
Yeah, Raphael in this particular show, he's a lot softer. He's in many other adaptations, whether the live action films or in some of those earlier shows, he's definitely much more of a hothead with a very dangerous temper. It's gotten him into plenty of hot water before in certain other story arcs, and different shows have help him basically find ways to grow out of that. But at the same time, I like the fact that this show doesn't need to it feels like it doesn't need to retread old ground. Let's try and not have that be a problem at all, and let's try to explore new stories with these characters.
That's another great thing I like about this new show. It's not I don't know how you and Dennery feel about Teen Titans Go. I'm not the biggest fan of Teen Titans Go, but I was concerned that the new Turtles series, Rise of the TMNT, would be just like that. Seeing this, I think it's a really great way of taking new characters and bringing them into a different spotlight.
Yeah, I agree. My opinion on Teen Titans Go, I originally really didn't like it, but then I'm now impartial to it. I've seen it, and there are certain jokes that stick, but I know I accept for all along, it's not made for me. It's not a show that's been made for me. So people have every right to enjoy it if they do. I was really originally a little bit fearful that this was going to be on the same because I love the Turtles, and I would very much not like to have shows that come out where I can just jump in and watch it and still enjoy it. But yeah, I had that fear, but it is still very different. It has kind of a similar sense of humor that Go has to a degree.
Sometimes, yeah.
But I think it still has it's still trying to do something a little more, at least try to make itself unique.
Now, I could be wrong on this, but when I was watching some of the episodes, I was getting, even when you watch shows like Full Metal Alchemist and One Punch Man, the anime, there are some really goofy moments in those shows. So when I'm watching Rise of the TMNT, I'm thinking, I don't think they're really taking the same route as Teen Titans Go so much as they may be taking the same route as some anime.
No, and I've been looking at the animation quality. I 100% believe you, because it is. They do have those goofy gags that you could see in any anime. And God, we're gonna probably move on. Let's talk about the animation, because
please, let's do that.
Because that's really, like, even if you are like me, you're very skeptical. One of the big things that is worth just checking this show out, even if the storytelling or the comedy doesn't really rub you the right way, like it did the three of us, just watch it for the fight sequences, because holy hell.
Oh yeah.
This is probably one of the best animated shows I have seen in Nickelodeon, at least when it comes to its fight choreography, since Avatar: The Last Airbender.
I agree 100%. And we talked about this last time, Rachel. I think personally this show reminds me, the animation and the action scenes is very reminiscent of Kill la Kill.
Yeah, you're not wrong. And I have only seen a little bit of Kill la Kill, but it's the kind of over the top.
I've only seen the Gumball reference of Kill la Kill.
That show made a Kill la Kill reference. I've got to see that. Oh my gosh.
It has the same kind of, like, both of those things have, like, because that Kill la Kill, while again you may enjoy it for one reason or another, but one thing you have to acknowledge is that it had an incredible over the top action.
Oh yeah.
And the kind of action that makes you just, like, sit down in your chair and, like, what the hell am I watching? In both a good and I would say more in a good way than a bad way, because it's just like, because you're just like, you've never seen anything like it before. And I'm seeing fight choreography in this show that I have never seen the Turtles perform in anything.
Oh yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah, I have to watch it a few times just to kind of appreciate it more, because it's so good.
The opening is one of the best openings, I think, in animation history.
Agreed. I'm not to discredit that at all, because even though I was, like I said, I was very fond of the last show's opening because of how they were able to streamline it so well, but also pay homage to, like, the old 80s cartoon. Mm-hmm. But this, in terms of doing something fresh and new, that ball is out of the park and into the next county.
Yeah, it had me hooked from that. I think the intro actually helped out a lot, because that draws you in and it keeps you in. Because then you're curious.
Yep. But
What's
I'm sorry, I had a thought and then I lost it. So if someone else has something to say, just jump in there.
Well, again, I think the voice acting in this is some of the best I've heard in anything. And I don't want to call it a comedy series, because there are some genuinely fun and heartfelt moments in this that don't feel hammered in, that are definitely a good, solid part of the story. But I love the voice acting in this. I love how the Turtles have distinctive voices. Was it Omar Benson? Is that Omar Benson Riley? Is he the one who plays Raphael?
I have listed Omar Benson.
He is great as Raphael. I just love, I can't remember his name. I love the voice actor who plays Donnie in this.
Josh
Brenner.
That's it, Josh Brenner. He is so funny. He is deadpan. He kind of reminds me of a teenage James Spader a little bit, like the guy who plays Ultron. That's exactly who he sounds like. It is so funny. And then, of course, I love who they got to play Michelangelo, Brandon Michael Smith.
Yep.
They have a great cast here. Everybody's great in this.
They do. It's very solid. I really appreciate the voice casting too. And yeah, Mike, he sounds so adorable. Yeah.
He is very sweet sounding. I have to also give props, if I may, real quick, to the voice actor for Leonardo as well, who is Ben Schwartz, who I've gotten very used to hearing on Disney Channel as Dewey Duck.
Yeah.
That's right. And
Ben's been a busy boy.
And since you've brought that up, Rachel, you have Eric Bauza as Splinter, and he's the Beagle Boys on the new DuckTales series.
Yes, he is, isn't he?
Yes.
My goodness.
He's extremely busy.
We'll talk about Splinter in a minute, but go ahead.
Yeah, so we have I love how they got a lot of big name guest stars. That's another thing that really drew me in, because I thought, well, these celebrities have to take a lot of time to do this show. It must be worth it. So that's what got me into it also. You have some really famous people. I'm not going to give them away just yet, because they're just too good.
There's one I want to mention real quick, though, because he plays at this moment, the primary antagonist.
Yes.
You mind if I go ahead and say that?
Yeah, go for it.
Go ahead.
At this point.
John Cena!
Dun, 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 dun.
Very is voiced by none other than John Cena. I'm just like, yes.
Yes, I couldn't believe it. I thought, how on earth did they get John Cena to play him?
And how did they get him to sing? How did they get him to sing? Like,
how did they get him to sing?
Maybe he's like, The Rock can do it, so can I.
Apparently. And even like just some of the little, I'm sorry, I'll let someone else take it because I'm still kind of geeking out about that character in particular because of his two little buddies that hangs out in his shoulders.
Those little gargoyles.
Hugin and Moonin.
Like, and I'm just like, that is totally a Norse mythology reference. And I'm like, what's a Norse mythology reference doing in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
I know, it's really well put together, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm just like, what the? Oh man, I want to know. I want to know more, guys. How do they do the voodoo that they do?
Oh, and another interesting thing, the foot recruit. You definitely saw her, Dennery. She's in the last episode. Mm-hmm. The crazy psychotic girl who's going after Mikey when he's trying to steal the game.
Yeah.
That is Zelda Williams, who is Robin Williams' daughter.
Ooh.
Another TMNT.
Yeah, I've heard she was in the last series, right?
She was. She voiced. Correct? Yeah, she was. She voiced Mona Lisa, who is Raphael's crush.
Mm.
Oh my gosh.
He fell in love with an alien, and he fell in love with an alien salamander who could kick his butt. And he was happy.
Oh my gosh! Well, let's not forget the other voice actors. We got Tom Kenny, Fred Tatasciore.
I figured it was only a matter of time before he showed up.
Tom Kenny is really he almost has that same voice that he has in what's his name? Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends.
Oh yes.
Same kind of voice. There's just a long list of amazing actors and celebrities on this.
Yeah, you got to give Rob his props. He knows not only how to get the good people, but also how to direct them. So
I haven't seen a cast of celebrities in just a mainstream series, a cartoon series like this since the 90s. I mean, remember the Disney cartoon? Remember how the Disney cartoons used to have all those celebrities who would guest star?
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what it feels like. And that also drew me in further. Darn you, Rob Paulson.
Doing such a great job as a voice director so far.
Oh yes, definitely.
Okay. It's only going to get better.
So if I had to ask, since we've only have a couple episodes, I think it's about roughly 12 episodes right now, or correct me if I'm wrong, Dennery.
It's 13, I think. Is it 13, Dennery?
It's been like 25 and most of them are like, like two paired together, like those 11 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah. I thought, oh my gosh, I missed out on half of them.
So there's like maybe like 22 small episodes and then like 3 30-minute episodes.
See, because I'm looking at the Amazon.com listing, and it bunched a lot of them together into 30-minute episodes, so that's why it says 13. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so are they still airing actively right now, Dennery, or are they because I thought I heard that they renewed it for a second season.
Yes, the season 1's still going on. They had a new episode just yesterday.
Okay.
And I watched it again.
Yeah, there it is.
I don't know when it's gonna be over, but yeah, they're supposed to have a second season this fall.
And then we're supposed to have the movie on Netflix.
Yes.
Oh, for goodness sake. My, they're busy. They're busy over there.
Yeah, that was announced on February 5th of this year.
Dang, man, I missed some stuff.
Don't worry, it went right over my head too. I mean, I didn't even know they had renewed the second season before the first season came out. Mm-hmm.
And what do you think in terms of because I mean, while most of these episodes seem very episodic, as I said earlier, there does seem to be an ongoing thread, at least with the idea that there's something happening underneath the streets of New York. There seems to be like a alternate weird dimension with these creatures called the yokai, which is where we find our antagonist voiced by John Cena, who is trying to mutate humanity. And that may or may not be tied to the Turtles' origin. So what are your opinions on how they've been kind of slowly like releasing and giving tidbits of that maybe overall like bigger story?
Do you mind if I go first, Dennery?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. I think they've been leading this out very well. I mean, they could have prolonged this like a long time until the second season to give the big reveal, which I won't give away here, but I think they've had a really good pace, really nice pace. They have just the right amount of filler, and then they get back into that cycle of revealing more and more. And I think it may have been a little quick, but I don't know. It seemed like just the right time to do it for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I kind of feel like with each of their 30-minute specials, we're kind of getting some more information. So, like, in the first episode, you know that he's possibly the creator of the Turtles.
Mm-hmm.
He kind of mentions, like, oh, you know, about his experiment years ago that went wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, in Bug Busters, he does outright tell Leo, like, oh, I've created you and I could destroy you.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the newest one, they really tell us a lot more information. You get a lot more information, especially with their musical number.
That was incredible.
I didn't know about the ties to, that's what actually got me to thinking that it was like Animaniacs, because it reminded me of something you just expect the Warners to pop up any second.
Yeah, it really, yeah.
It was pretty good.
It was a version of very model of a.
Yes.
It was Gilbert. It was straight out of Gilbert and Sullivan. I'm just like, oh my god.
Yes.
We're really doing this.
I'm just thinking
it's not doing this.
It's either like a Broadway musical or something like out of like a Disney villain song.
Yeah.
Almost.
And he has the animation to back it up, though. Like,
I know. I never thought pink could look so diabolical.
I know, right?
Yeah.
It does.
But, well, that's also the ongoing thing. Is it seems like the story is kind of split right now, because we have that going on. That seems to be the more pressing issue, or at least the ongoing villains that the Turtles are kind of going up against right now, with them and Baron Draxum and all of the mutated people that they've come across. Just to see if we go over a few, we've got some Meat Sweats, who's a giant pig. So he's a celebrity
let's
chef.
talk about his voice. His
Johnny,
voice is really good.
Johnny Rotten.
I feel like I would have heard his voice in other places because it's so good. He sounds very menacing, and to know, like, wait, this is his first time voice acting.
Yeah, I wouldn't have guessed that by listening to him and the way his delivery was in the first episode that I saw him in, which was Donnie's Gifts, and it was a very good performance.
Yeah.
Talk about a real moment out of, I don't know if it was a purposeful reference to Scanners when he turned into the monster on TV and then everyone else just like disappears, but that happens in the sci-fi movie Scanners.
Oh, I see.
Something on, no, it was The Howling. It was the werewolf movie, The Howling. It's where the woman turns into a werewolf on camera and then the camera goes like that. And I kept thinking, I know kids are going to get that. That's a really good reference there with the character. But when you were just talking about how his voice is so great, Dennery, I had something. He did the old I Can't Believe It's Not Butter commercials.
Yes, he did.
And so when he, in the one episode, smacks that butter on top of Splinter's head and talks about clarifying butter, I lost my cool. I thought, I just expect him to go, I can't believe it's not butter.
I wasted a whole thing of butter on him.
I know.
It's like, God damn it.
Yeah, you have to wonder if that was done on purpose or the biggest, weirdest accident on the planet, right?
Yeah, and I have to say my favorite so far has to be Rhys Darby as
oh my god,
Hypnopotamus, because
I love that guy.
Yeah, he's funny, and I got used to his voice by watching the Netflix Voltron, and so like part of me is just like, oh no, it's like, Space Uncle, what are you doing here?
I love Rhys Darby for his stand-up. He is just hysterically funny on stage. He does all the sound effects and everything. He is really funny. If you get a chance to watch his stand-up do it, it's hilarious.
I have to look into that because
I'll
he will now and forever be, and myself and my own circle of friends who we all like watched Voltron together. He is forever Crocodile Dundee Space Uncle.
I forgot that he was in Voltron.
Yes, yeah, he's their Altan alien confidant.
Because unfortunately, I think I'm one of the few people who's never watched the show, but I know the cast.
Take your time. I don't think it's any rush because I know there's a lot of friction in that fandom right now. So don't feel like you're in a hurry to jump into that.
Ooh, I better get my safety gear then.
Yeah. So
I mean, if you watch it, just watch it. But yeah, maybe don't interact with people.
Yeah, I don't typically go on blogs like that or anything. I just watch it. So, but now that you told me that, I'll definitely avoid it.
Yeah, just enjoy it for what it is. Don't try and put any expectations on it. But yeah, it basically kind of think of Voltron, Netflix's Voltron, like this show. Just try and go in with like zero expectations and just let it take you.
That's exactly what I did watching this. And I did get a really interesting, this is really cool. Sorry, I spazzed out for a second there. I think it's so cool. Did you watch the episode called Bug Busters, Rachel?
No, unfortunately, that was one of the only episodes that was unavailable on demand. So well, I do plan on watching it, though.
Then Dennery, you will definitely, I don't know if you know this, but the voice actress who plays Big Mama, the Joragumo, the giant spider, that is Lena Headey or Cersei Lannister from Game of Thrones.
Right. Yeah, I think you told me about this.
Yeah, we talked about that last time.
You know, she has such an interesting performance because, you know, her dialogue is just hilarious. She's making all these, you know, she says a lot of weird things.
That's another thing, Dennery, I loved in this episode is when Baron Draxum pops into the room and she says, you need to learn to use the door. And he goes, you must learn to use real words. I was laughing. My mom said, what's wrong with you? I said, I'm just laughing at a cartoon. It cracked me up.
Oh, actually, I was just looking through the cast list, and I did obviously the fact that Cersei Lannister is in the shows. I need to find that episode, but I hadn't known that Baxter Stockman apparently has made an appearance already. So
he has.
Yeah, that's another regular antagonist for the Turtles in previous incarnations. Again, how bad he is, or in terms of like how like much of a problem he is, will depend on your interpretation or your adaptation that you fall into. But typically, he's more or less kind of like a side. Like the Turtles don't take him that seriously, even though he desperately wants to be taken seriously.
Yeah, that's definitely something else to keep in mind. That yeah, he wants all the attention but doesn't get it, and I kind of like how they have them as this little evil Jimmy Neutron kind of character right now. Because it's really funny. But I just
boy.
Yeah.
Oh, Baxter Stock. Oh,
Baxter
that's
Stockman.
What? He's a kid this time.
Makes you wonder if he changes his name later. Because, you know, Stock Boy, Stock Man. I just caught that.
I think that's the joke.
Oh, I just caught that. That is so, oh my gosh, that's great. But something else I did catch right here, I don't know if you saw this, Dennery, the cockroach gang, those monsters that Raphael comes across. One of them is voiced by Gray Griffin, who you know
the
better.
Atomic Glass or Atomic
Gray
Glass.
Delisle. And then you have John DiMaggio as the junkyard dog character.
Ha!
Yeah.
Yes, so it was pretty. Yeah, as soon as he starts speaking, you know who that is.
Yeah.
John DiMaggio does not hide his voice very well, but I think that's a good thing.
No, and I don't think he's good at talking quietly. He's always doing something yelling in his roles.
But yeah, this show is a solid piece of entertainment. I guess I would say in terms of, like, I know we were talking, you don't want to call it a comedy, but I think of the different interpretations, this is definitely more of a comedy focus as opposed to the previous shows that I've seen, at least the ones that I've seen. Like, even the 1980s cartoon was awfully silly, but not nearly as, I think it was silly in a different way. But this definitely is like kind of almost balls to the wall, like just it's doing some smart modern humor.
Well, something that's interesting, and I just thought about this. I think I might be one of the few people who kind of did like the live action versions.
Oh, you mean the
Michael Bay?
Oh, yeah.
I do kind of like this. I watched the first one and I really enjoyed it. But something I noticed about, there's a kind of a connection between the Bay films and this new one. And like you have Donnie's cybernetic kind of shell, but at the same time, the personalities of the turtle are really similar to the personalities in the Bay film, at least as they go along. They're all kind of goofy sometimes. Like, especially in the second film, But it's the elevator scene in the first movie that totally reminds me of something out of this show.
That scene is fantastic. I don't have a very high opinion of that film, but that scene at the very least.
I've only seen like the ending of the second one. I haven't seen any of them.
Mm-hmm.
They're not that bad. But again,
they're not
I
good
don't know.
either.
I don't know much about the Turtles. I've seen a couple episodes of the old cartoon and everything from the 80s. But so I guess that's why I'm kind of willing to give more leeway to the live action cartoon or the live action movie. Excuse me.
That's all right. And I would say, I would say if I was going to give any recommendations for any other like Turtles related shows or things to check out, I would say definitely the show that came out before this, like the very early bits of it, for sure. Look into that if you're curious, or if you feel inspired, thusly inspired, or even the 2004 show that was on Fox Kids it's still what it is, but like I said, it took a lot of. I have to give props to that show where it was due, because it took a lot of risks to try and align itself or like really take a lot from the Mirage comics, and it did some ballsy stuff. Like you saw the Shredder get decapitated.
Oh my gosh! Really?
Yeah. I'm like, wait a second, this is for kids. This is the programming block that's famous for taking adaptations of anime and basically censoring out guns and things that any indication of violence, but it's okay to get a head chopped off. Like
if they're bad guys, then yes. No, I'm kidding.
Oh wow! I can't believe that they actually got away with that.
And I was like, I think of all the characters, Leo probably had a very interesting arc where he had a lot of like ups and downs. Like say if things went wrong, and he would blame himself, and he would go bits, not through terribly long arcs, but just like he would have to overcome those basically real challenges that a leader would have to face, which is like, okay, now I can actually get behind why they keep saying that he's the leader of this group, because he's actually trying to be the responsible older brother, and he's not always easy, especially when you have a semi-younger brother who's constantly butting heads with you.
That's true.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it depends on what mood strikes you, and they're again very different, and whether or not you like it is completely up to you. But I'd say of the shows that I've seen, those are the ones worth exploring, and obviously and even to the people who are listening out there, just pick and choose. I mean, the Turtles obviously since they were created are not going anywhere. They've been around for almost 35
years.
Yes.
30 something, yeah.
35 years and going. So I have a feeling they're going to be here to stay. So there's going to be a lot of different ways to enjoy these characters and these stories.
The first appearance was in 1984.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And I believe, I think there was also the live action movies that I think that came in the 1980s. I've got the original one where the turtles were actually disguised in suits.
Oh my gosh, I do know that one. Oh gracious.
Where you keep hearing Raphael just shouting, "Damn!"
What? I never caught that before.
Oh no, it's great. It's fantastic. I love it.
Oh my gosh. All I keep thinking is those suits are terrifying.
Yeah,
it's like
they were kind of rough, but it was
uncanny valley stuff going on.
It depends on how much you're willing to let go.
I don't want to let go. I don't want to look them in the eye.
Hey, to be fair, back when that was, I think that it actually got worse as those live action movies went on. I think it was the third one, the third where the turtles were traveling through time, where it was really, really bad. They go back to ancient Japan. I think that was actually the first one I saw, and it was really bad.
Oh,
and I saw the first one. I'm like, oh, this actually looks kind of better.
If the Turtles had a time where they had formed a rock band, I would gladly have a show. Back then, I would have gladly welcomed a show that was all comedy.
Oh, are you talking? Okay. For a second, I thought you were referencing something else. But are you referencing what I think you are?
Oh, yes, I am referencing that.
No, not okay. I will tell you straight off. The live action movies The suits are much better in those than what you saw in that rock band, whatever the frick that was. I'm sorry, actually give it a try.
Oh, did I make you mad, Rachel? With the reference.
I might have been slightly triggered by that, yes.
Who wouldn't be? Those suits are terrifying. I can't look. You can't. Don't look them in the eye. They're possessed.
Yeah, that particular whatever the heck that was not tied to any of the actual movies. Yeah, no, don't touch that.
Did you ever see that, Dennery?
Which one?
Did you ever see their rock concert thing? I was blessed with never having to see that as a kid. When they traveled around, they were in. Oh, consider yourself lucky.
Yeah, Dennery. Don't look it up. Promise.
Yeah, don't look it up.
Look it up.
I won't.
Oh, you will. If you're like me, Dennery, you'll go home and you'll look it up because I did.
Don't
do it.
Don't do it.
If you didn't want me to look at, you could have just used reverse psychology. Like, look it up. No, it's fine.
Yeah, whenever you tell someone not to do it, they do it.
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong.
If about half of those
Ninja Turtles, Leonardo, Raphael, Donatello, and Mikey, what have you done to me?
Oh no!
Over the years?
Oh my gosh! I hope they make like a reference to that. Oh, actually, you know what? I think they did make a reference to it in one of the episodes with Rise. Wasn't there
They actually decide to make a musical gig in one of the episodes.
Oh boy!
Oh yeah, they make fun of it like crazy. They even have like an old cartoon, like a throwback to the 80s cartoon, that this face of the turtle on this was it a rabbit's body or something?
What?
It was really weird, Dennery. It was when they were doing that dance-off thing.
Oh, I only seen like that they have like one of their faces, like the older version, and like spray printed on the wall.
Yeah,
if you look at the layer, like you see like the spray paint all over. You see like a bunch of different things.
What's really interesting is, Dennery, in one of the episodes on a huge blackboard or something, Donatello has all of these different pictures, and one of them has the picture of the turtles in the 80s, and under it in red ink he has scribbled alternate dimension ?
Yeah, I was in the pizza pit.
That's great.
Yep, and the turtles have crossed dimensions before. There was an entire special where in the 2004 show where they actually crossed over with the 1980s cartoon, and it was pretty funny. Like,
oh my gosh.
The 80s Raphael would break the fourth wall because that's what he did, and then the other characters from the 2004 would look at the camera and they're like, what the hell are you talking to?
Who are you talking to?
There's no one there! Oh, just God. These guys are so funny.
Yeah, they are funny.
Also the young lady, and April, I have to say, in this show is pretty awesome.
I love this April O'Neil.
Yeah, April has had, just as many incarnations as the turtles themselves have had, where sometimes she's kind of like their big sister with, helping them like kind of settle into being more associated with things on the surface, or she is basically the same age as them. I know that the last show did that as well, where she was basically the same age as the turtles, and Donnie had a huge crush on her. He had a giant adorable crush on her, and it was wonderful. But and in here it's very much the same way, where she's very much the same age, but it seems like, as opposed to this show or the last show where she only just met them and was getting to know them through the course of the show, she's known them here for a while, it seems.
It's been like a few years or something.
Okay.
Yeah, and I don't mind that too much. I know it's always great to have an Origins episode, but I think they're going to do that maybe in season 2. And I always like those flashback episodes in a way, because then you get a chance to breathe and kind of see where the characters came from, and that's really fun. But I love how they just throw you right into this, and April does know them, so there's no real introduction here. Yeah, that's just my opinion on it.
Which is good, and I think that's the smart way to approach this show, because the fact that these characters have been done over and over and over, everyone should know, even if you're only basically only a little bit familiar, like, Dennery, when you were coming into this, you still had a basic idea who everyone was.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, we don't have to really explain too much right now. And I guess that adds to the fun of this particular show, is that we don't have that background information, whereas almost every other incarnations like explains right off the bat who the turtles are and how they are the way they are. But this is more of a mystery this time around, which I think is fun.
Yeah, definitely.
What else is there to talk about? Oh, a certain ninja master rat that we haven't talked about yet.
The elephant in the room.
This is the one that has either floated or sunk people's opinions about the series.
Yeah.
I kind of like this Splinter. He makes me laugh. He kind of reminds me of Master Shifu from Kung Fu Panda.
Yeah.
I like him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, do go ahead, Dennery.
No, yeah, like, as far as I know, like, I would know, like, you know, Splinter's always, like, you know, like, the sensei, the mature one. So when I saw that he's different, yeah, I knew people were going to be very upset. But, you know, I didn't have any attachment to it, so I felt like all these changes didn't necessarily bothered me much. But watching the series, yeah, he's been a real treat. You know, he's been really funny.
It's kind of like that. You know how when you hit your teenagers, that your parents started acting more like they did before they had you, something like that. You know, and how Splinter kind of realizes, okay, I've got teenage sons now. I can go crazy again, and so he acts like a teenager himself. While they scold him like parents. I don't know. I thought that was a funny
like
touch there.
Fast and they're Furious.
Oh, when he's driving the tank, I did not know who stole it. I thought, what the heck? Where is it? When I saw he was driving it, I thought, oh, yes, 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 someone made that happen.
So he was responsible.
I love it when he puts on his sunglasses and has that cat, like a cat roaring.
That was really good.
They do that joke. That's like a running gag in the series. Like whenever they strike a pose or something crazy, that cat goes. It's funny.
Well, I guess because one of the reasons that people might have problems with this, and again, this is something as someone who has been familiar with the other forms of Splinter, I think it's because they're so used to him being a specific type of character, like, you know, the wise, mature, like adult authority figure, whereas this guy, he really doesn't give a crap.
Although,
I mean, to a degree, he's still a father and he still cares about his boys. But he's just very relaxed. And I think that's a big part due to what we do eventually learn about who he might actually be. Because it's typically, Splinter has either always been a rat or he was a human transmutated into a rat person.
They kind of throw hints as to which human he may have been, too.
Yeah.
Especially when you see the sunglasses he's wearing.
Yep.
Yeah, he is very wise in the last episode. I'll give him that. He does act like a sensei in the last one. He gets a little quieter, more downplayed, and he does ground them. I liked that. We know Splinter has been the Turtles' parent, has been their only parent figure. So to see him do that, okay, we're by the family dynamic now because parents ground their kids all the time.
Oh yeah.
And
yeah, go ahead.
I love how they put this evil spotlight on Splinter as soon as he says grounded. Isn't that exactly how you looked when you looked at your mom or dad and they said you were grounded? Isn't that exactly how you thought they looked?
That's pretty much how it is.
Yeah.
It's like that dark spotlight, like you're sitting in a police station. You are grounded. No! I'll never see the light of day.
But I mean, again, with the big thing about this, the difference is also like in terms of like I guess we can go ahead and kind of throw hints out there since we've been talking about this enough. Is that in his original incarnation, if he was originally a person, Splinter was basically a actual practicing ninja, like you know, basically in the traditional sense, like a tradition passed down in generations, and he was kind of like a guardian of those secrets of that particular tradition. So he was very like authentically kind of like Japanese influenced in his behaviors, and you definitely still see that some of that in this character, though this character is more of like it kind of taking a lot of inspiration from like a Jackie Chan film star.
Yeah, Bruce Lee, Jackie Chan.
Which I think, if we're gonna do a different take on how or why the Turtles know martial arts in general, or these ninjutsu skills, like, that's fascinating. I love the idea that they were like, it's and it plays to the comedies, the fact that they, they have these skills, but at the same time, it's not like it allows them some like room to like make mistakes or not be like on top of everything.
Exactly. If I could just interject here, I'm glad you brought that up, Rachel, because I don't know, are we talking about spoilers yet?
I think we've basically gotten into that realm. So
okay, because I have to bring this up because it's one of the funniest moments for me in the entire series. It was in the most recent episode I watched. That was the League of Evil Mutants.
Yes.
It was the shot where they figured out who their dad was.
Yes.
And you think it's going to be very serious, and the Raphael turns around. His expression made me die. And he goes, "Oh my gosh, Fujitsu's our dad!"
All dancing around, and
my God, I lost my mind.
I mean, if you found out like a celebrity was you were related to celebrity, like a big fan, especially a celebrity you admire, like, don't you think that'd be your reaction?
Well, again, playing to the bit that they're teenage boys. Isn't that exactly how teenage boys would react? Go crazy.
Yep. Even if there was like a big bad villain, like just about a stone's throw away from you, it's like, oh my God, this is more important.
Oh yeah, it's like Dash in The Incredibles, and he would make little jokes when he was around the bad guys. Same kind of idea.
Mm-hmm. Oh gosh, I mean, I could pick it. We basically pick apart the show for a long time, but I think we've covered quite a great deal. Unless there's anything else that we want to bring up real quick, as I mean, obviously, stellar animation, great writing, an excellent voice cast.
Great villains too. I know the Turtles have always had really good bad guys. I like these. And there's another interesting tidbit at the end of Bug Busters, right when Draxum's talking about how the ooze will serve a different purpose. You can see all these mutants appearing on either side of him. Mm-hmm. On the left and the right, I'm just going to say that you see what looks like a mutant warthog and a mutant rhino.
Oh boy, they're coming.
So they're going to be in the show, I guarantee you that.
Yeah, so that there's that little tidbit, and if we're following the Foot Clan guys who have already made an appearance, we have the Foot Lieutenant and the Brute, and they and of course the Zelda Williams voiced the Recruit and the Origami Ninjas. Mm-hmm. They were stealing a particular something in an earlier episode that was a clawed like metal hand.
Oh my gosh, that's right.
That's like another ongoing thing.
So we might be seeing the other big arch nemesis for the Turtles be making an appearance sometime later down the line.
Could we have an appearance from the Shredder?
I don't think. I mean, there have been very few shows where the Shredder has not been present in some way, shape, or form. And his characterization will vary, but typically his appearance is a tipping point in both the Turtles and Turtle and Cummies in terms of their origin, because Shredder is typically very closely related, or like either a living brother or a old comrade of Splinter when he was human. So there, I mean, in terms of like, so they in the original '80s show they played his character a little bit more for comedy, but then in a lot of the later adaptations he has gone a lot darker. So normally, every time he makes a first appearance, he basically whoops the Turtles like flat.
Now, I do know this part. I do know Uncle Phil definitely did sound a little intimidating once in a while.
Oh, no, yeah, he could do it. I'm going to tie this place up with so much litigation that your grandchildren are going to need lawyers.
I know, it's exactly what I hear. Again, I didn't watch much of the cartoon, but I know Uncle Phil plays the Shredder. That's good enough for me.
Yeah. And he did an amazing job. And even a lot of the people, the guys who took up the role afterwards, like I know, God, why is his name not coming to me? Hold on, I have to double check this, because he was in the recent animated show. So that was TMNT 2012. Shredder. He's been in a lot of different cartoons. And why is his name not coming to me? Give me a second. This is great talk. This is great audio, like, commentary stuff, guys. So we have to.
I mean, with the whole Shredder thing, I think they're going to build up to it because, you do see them take the metal thing from the mall. And then you see them, they didn't take it this time. Warren Stone has it. He
Oh,
has
that's
the
right.
he has the other glove.
Okay.
I think
I got it. He is. His voice is Kevin Michael Richardson in the
Oh my gosh.
2012 show, and he brought his A game to that role and making him very intimidating.
Kevin Michael Richardson already sounds intimidating. He just, ooh, his voice is so scary sometimes.
And I think who did the voice for the 2004 show? I'm trying to remember. Because that was the first, really super intimidating. Like, the Shredder has, red eyes, and you can't see. I mean, obviously, his face is covered by
Oh, I saw that picture. That was really creepy. That was the 2004 series?
Yep.
Ooh, that was really creepy. All I remember is someone called him the Demon Shredder.
He is kind of the Demon Shredder, because he was, you're not wrong.
There he is. Ooh, that's creepy.
Let's see. Where is his voice actor? I want to know who voiced you.
Let's see here.
Because he had a deep growling voice like this.
Ooh.
And he would say really super cryptic stuff. But yeah, no, it's that was a very fun interpretation of that character. So considering how all of that's again, multiple interpretations, I'm really curious to see what they do with this Shredder when he does make his appearance, because I know he's coming. Just like if Rocksteady and Bebop are coming, there's no way that we aren't going to get the Shredder.
Oh, they make a lot of shredding puns.
Oh, yeah, it's mostly probably the Turtles are going to be making that, because that's just what they do, like metal mouth.
Oh yes,
they're coming.
There are plenty of those jokes on the way.
And I'm ready for them.
Oh, yes.
I think that might be about it. Yeah, we've gone over the Turtles themselves, the Rogues Gallery, April O'Neil. We haven't seen hide nor hair of Casey Jones.
Yes, that's right.
But he's either been in the show or or not in the show. So we'll see what they decide to do, if they do either make a reference to him or something. Because I would love to kind of give Raph a bash brother, like he always has.
Yeah, definitely.
He always has that in Casey Jones.
Well, you can kind of see why they do get along.
Mm-hmm. Oh yes, I think there was an adorable scene in the 2007-2004 cartoon where literally they start wrestling with each other and they start throwing trash talk insults at each other as they're running around having a good time. I'm like, you dorks.
Man, don't you act tough, you dorks.
You're no different than the rest of us.
So stop pretending.
So we'll see, but I have to say I have made a complete 180 on this show, and I get to say thanks to the staff for putting such hard work into it. Thanks for also everyone else who's been you guys for being patient with me to come around. But yeah, I think I'm in it for the long haul, which is a good thing. Same here. What about you, Dennery?
I'm definitely way into it. I bought an Easter basket the other day.
Oh, get out of town.
Oh my gosh, they're out. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. You just made my day, Dennery.
Celebrate Easter with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Oh that sounded like a 90s commercial.
I'll be here all week.
You imagine the guy there. Celebrate Easter with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, toys sold separately.
Yep, because it all started, it was the little drawings, and then they became toys, and then they became a comic, and then the rest is history.
And then they became a legend.
Yes. Legendary
Another thing we should really talk about is their fight sequence. I know we talked about a little bit, but I know most of the sequences are storyboarded by Kevin Molina Ortiz, who recently won the Annie Award.
Yes, let's talk about that.
Because he's been doing such a phenomenal job with it.
Yeah. And as someone who's trying to break into storyboarding and learning more about the art, I have to give him his due credit, because that plays a big role in terms of how you, especially scenes that have so much going on, where you have multiple different characters running around. And storyboarding, from personal experience, storyboarding gets harder the more characters you have to keep track of. So, I mean, I really, since I only just started watching the show, I really have to go back and watch some of them again just to kind of get a better appreciation of how many characters are on screen and that they have to keep track of in order to coordinate the different action sequences. But yeah, there's a lot happening, and Mr. Ortiz.
Yeah, like in the Evil League of Mutants.
I'm sorry?
Like in the Evil League of Mutants.
Oh yeah,
like,
heck yes.
It's been like one of the greatest, and all they use is fish and ladders, literally.
Fish and ladders, yep.
Oh, yeah, that's amazing.
Just like their sensei. Oh man, yeah.
And let's not forget the fight sequence in Mystic Mayhem, the first one, where they go
Yeah.
up against Baron Draxum and his robot and his mutants.
Yeah, that was the first one that really hooked me. I'm like, wow, this is stellar. And then the one with the Evil League of Mutants was just like a step above that. I'm like, just damn.
Oh yeah.
I want to quote Raphael when I say, damn! Oh my god. Yeah. So thanks for bringing attention to that, Dennery, because that is something that is definitely worthy of praise. I mean, it's proof in the pudding in terms of how well these episodes are animated and told, and you know how they execute on the jokes. It's not just the writing; it's how the artists are able to take that writing, draw it out, and then animate it.
Yeah, because they use like a lot of camera movements. They have so many angles, and I feel like they really do their best when it comes to their fight scenes. Yeah, and I feel like that really showcased that in the Evil League of Mutants. I know it's such a weird thing to like, but when Raph is fighting Meat Sweats and then he grabs his hammer thing or whatever. Mm-hmm. I'm not a chef. I don't know what that is. And then
it's a mallet. It's a mallet. It's a meat mallet.
The mallet thing, yeah. Mm-hmm. And then he twists that. I don't know. I liked how the camera moved. Circled around.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah,
I thought that was another really cool shot.
That's tricky to do with 2D animation because that's normally the camera can't really move that way, but they found a way to do it.
Yeah, that's what I appreciate. Like they do so much. That's why I talk about like the camera angles. Like they move around like as if it is like you're watching a live action movie.
Yeah, which is again, it's with 2D animation is incredibly, incredibly hard. That's why for a long time when CG started coming around and it's like, oh, you could do all these different camera angles, like, oh, well, 2D can't do that. Let's just try and move more to CG. It's like, no, it is possible with 2D. It's just that maybe the technology wasn't right at the time. But we've reached that point where, animators can try and pull those tricks in order to do more, at least with action sequences like this, do something that does it justice.
Yeah, and it's really interesting you said that because back in 1999, Glenn Keane, when he was drawing Tarzan in the 1999 film, he would use a lot of shots like that would rotate. You almost felt like it was a 3D character, but he was hand drawing and hand animating this character. So yeah, but when at the same time you see moments like that in some of the 3D films, and you can see why for a while people did kind of deviate from that.
But yeah, this show has really impressed me in terms of that. I mean, I've had feeling that once considering all the praise it has garnered, that I would really get into it in regards to that. But I was still hesitant in terms of how I would like the story. But I said I've drastically changed my mind in the course of a single day of really watch with those handful of recommended episodes and just jumping in and letting go of all expectation.
It's definitely worth watching.
Yes.
It may not please everybody, and people who are still really attached to previous shows, like you have every right to do that, and you don't have to be swept up by this show like we were. But if you're a fan and you want to stay with these characters for whatever interpretations come down the road, some might be for you, some might not be for you. But I'm happy to say that this show is for me.
Yep, same here.
All right, well, I think that about wraps us up for today. So thank you. I want to make sure I draw attention above to the little bit of art there that's up on the top of this post because our dear artist in residence, Allie, drew that for this episode. Just exclusively this episode, so you won't find that anywhere else. So hope you enjoyed that because she did a great job on it. So snaps for Allie.
Thank you.
All right, and if you want to stay tuned with the episodes for the AFA podcast that are coming down the line, or even go back and look at listen to some of our other podcast episodes, you may find them on our website as well as any other podcasting. So if you're on Podbean, we are on Stitcher, we are on podcast.com, and I believe iTunes. Yes, we're still on iTunes. We will give updates in terms of on our social media pages. We are on Facebook, on Twitter at the AFA blog. We are on Pinterest. We are also on Instagram. And I think I'm missing one on Tumblr. I think it's, I haven't been on Tumblr in so long. I think it's the part of the reason why I keep forgetting that we technically have a Tumblr account. But yeah, and then Dennery will be keeping you guys updated, and we all take turns, but Dennery is like I said, she is the social media wizard for us, but we'll all take turns to keep you guys updated on what new episodes are coming out. If you want to follow us individually, Allie, where can we find you on social media?
You can find me at AllieCatDreams on Instagram and Twitter. All
right, and Dennery, how about you?
You can find me at HauntedFairy13 on Twitter and Instagram.
Okay, excellent. And if you want to follow me, I'm mostly on Twitter at Fail2Ninja. If you want to support this podcast and AFA in general, in terms of our new developments for the year 2019, please definitely check out our Patreon page as well as our Ko-Fi page, and just leave a little donation there. Any support is appreciated, because we want to be able to keep bringing you guys content and have these awesome conversations about these really incredible bits of animation, whether it's movies, television shows, independent shorts, what have you. We want to talk about it all. And if you have any ideas about a particular topic you want us to cover, please send us an email. We have an email address, podcast@animationforadults.com, so you can leave suggestions of what you would like to hear. And I think one final shout out, because I always have to do this at the end of every episode, because we love these people to death. Two of our favorite people, Yvonne and Nina, who are both been regulars on this podcast, are a part of Animation Nights New York, or Annie, and it's a monthly screening event for independent shorts. I'm going to leave a link to the event in the show notes. It takes place in New York, and they have these monthly screenings where people submit their animated shorts from all over the world for people to come see, and it's free. You can just walk right into the building, sit down, grab a seat, and watch some really unique animated shorts, which really like to test the boundaries of what most people consider acceptable in animation, like just trying really new visuals, storytelling, etc. I've been there personally myself. It's a great time. So yeah, I think that about does it. So thank you all for tuning in for this episode of the AFA podcast, and we'll see you on the next episode. Take care, guys.